Good morning, all of my faithful followers on Thursday morning. A reading from my book, Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul. It's a good thing to be here, to be alive, to be on this side of the ground as opposed to the alternative. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. I don't know what your week was like, but whatever it was like, you're here. So that's a reason to give thanks. Um, we're in a place politically in this country that I absolutely know people are not really understanding the depth of it. And I need for us to understand the depth of it because our freedoms are at stake. The people who want to run the government, they say they're getting rid, excuse me, of the deep state. What they want to do is replace the current government, the current deep state, with their deep state. And their deep state is authoritarian in nature. They really want there to be one person. They like the concept of the strong man, one man being in charge of all of us. The candidate for the governorship of North Carolina said he didn't even want women to vote. If you pay attention to everything that's going on, that's been said, you'll be alarmed. I don't think enough of us are paying attention to it, and so I'm going to be continuing to remind you, and I'm going to form some workshops so that we can have some time to really get into the weeds, so that people understand what's going on and what's at stake. But when I say your rights, our rights are being threatened, and we're talking about the rights that are listed in the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution. Those rights include freedom of petition or assembly, freedom of speech, freedom of search and arrest, rights in criminal cases, right to a fair trial, rights in civil cases, bail, fines, and punishment. In other words, you have the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, the freedom of the press, the freedom to assemble. So that means that if they get into power and they have their way, then you can be arrested if you want to protest something. That happens in Russia. They happen to love Russia, but if you're paying attention, people who speak out against the current government of Russia, they don't end well. Those experiences don't end well. Navalny was just killed, basically. That's what the reports say. I wasn't there, so I can't say he was killed, but the reports say he was killed. But that's has been a pattern where anybody in Russia criticizes the government, they pay for it with their lives. And that's the kind of stuff that many people here like. They don't like it that people are protesting, black people, brown people, women. They don't like that. They want us all to stay in our place. In essence, they want us all to shut up and dribble. My favorite quote by Lord Ingraham. This kind of undoing of the rights of people is a repeat of what happened during Reconstruction after the Civil War. Black people had the right to vote. People were gaining rights, and black people were getting into office, and white folks in charge said, "No, that's not going to be." So they dismantled the Reconstruction, and then there was a real coup in Wilmington, North Carolina, in 1898, where they just took black people off the ballot, took them out of office, ran them out of town. That's the stuff that's who they are. Um, and it's a repeat. Anytime we make advances as black people, even as women, the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote, and people don't like that. This guy from North Carolina said he just thinks that women should stay home, take care of the babies, clean the house and stuff. What are you talking about? This is the 21st century. But I don't think enough of us are listening to that kind of stuff and don't realize the danger that we are in as individuals and as so-called citizens of these disunited states. Mike Flynn talks about how he was the former national security advisor for the former president. And he talks about loudly, he says he wants there to be one religion for the United States. Everybody here has to be Christian, has to follow Christianity as they define it. And I don't embrace their brand of Christianity. I don't embrace their Christianity, which allows them to go scot free as they abuse people and hurt people and kill people. That's been their religion for the longest time. Anyway, I can't say all of it here, but I think that I really want you to know that there is a lot at stake, and I really want you to know that knowing what's going on is important. Knowing what's going on. So I am going to be setting up some workshops so that we can gather people together and we can find out, we can get in the weeds with this so you can see what's going on. Then you can make your own decision if that's what you want. That's the way you vote. But you at least need to know what's going on. I would be horrified. Horrified. I'm already horrified at the way the rights of women in terms of their reproductive rights in their bodies. I'm horrified with what has happened. But I would be horrified if there was something going on and we got in the streets like we do. We get in them streets to protest and make our voices heard. If scores of us were being arrested, I would be horrified if in this country the people in charge started putting people whom they do not like, whom they do not think deserve to be in this country, and certainly not American citizens, that there were camps built for them. We'd be horrified with that. I am horrified at so much that is going on. So I am going to have these workshops. The other thing I need for you to think about is to be in prayer, because I know prayer changes things, but the carnage in Gaza has to stop. It just has to stop. It has to stop. It has to stop. It is awful that so many thousands of innocent people have been murdered by the Israeli government in search of Hamas. All those people were not members of Hamas. There's something else going on, and I'm not going to get into the weeds on that either. But we need to be concerned about what's going on in Gaza, in Haiti, in Sudan, where people are just being slaughtered. They're being slaughtered because people in power, men in power, want to hold on to their power, and they guard it jealously and violently with their foot soldiers. So I just needed to remind you, and I'm going to keep reminding you as you prepare to vote. The primary to Super Tuesday one is gone, but the primary in Ohio, where I live, is coming up on March 19th. I've already voted absentee. As a matter of fact, some people in the group that wants to be in power want to get rid of absentee voting, even though mail-in ballots absentee voting were a big part of Super Tuesday, where the former president secured a victory. And I haven't heard him say, "Oh, we got to get rid of the vote by mail." But that's been one of the battle cries, because they don't want people to vote. Paul Weyrich said in the 80s, we don't want everybody to vote. Listen to what they are saying, because they are serious. And if these workshops will have, some diving into Project 2025, so you can see what's at stake. If they don't want public education, then what happens to the kids who live in neighborhoods where nobody wants to go, where vouchers won't be as good as other places? There's just so much to think about. We've come too far to let this kind of stuff go on. So anyway, that is my rant for today, and I appreciate the time and the space that you allow me to do that. I thought last week when we were talking, the meditation was about grieving. I just kind of stayed a little bit long on my rant, but we'll do a grieving meditation again in the near future, because it's so important, and many people are grieving right now for persons that they've lost, loved ones, jobs, all kinds of things. So I am going to do another one on grieving in the next couple of weeks. Anyway, thank you for being here. These meditations came out of my book, Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul. And I continue to write the meditations every single Tuesday. And so sometimes you get the ones that are in the book, and sometimes you get the ones that are being written on a weekly basis. And I am hoping that I can get a second book of meditations out ASAP. So, but today we're not going to be in the book. Today we're going to listen to a meditation that I wrote on this past Tuesday, for this past Tuesday, as I was reeling with the decision of the United States Supreme Court about Colorado and other states not being able to take the name of the former president off their ballots. That part I expected, but then they made a statement at the end, which kind of seemed like they were making a way to approve the former president's claim that he, as the president, should have total immunity, and made me sick to my stomach. And so I wrote this meditation, which I'm going to share with you now, and it's called No Dark Fate Determines the Future. No dark fate determines the future. On the day after the forces of injustice have flexed their muscles and rendered a decision or partaken in an action that will cause many people to suffer, it is easy to slide into a state of depression and a feeling of hopelessness. This is what the forces, the so-called powers and principalities, want us to do. Should I say that again? They want us to slide into a deep state of depression and a feeling of hopelessness. That is exactly what they want us to do. On March 4th of this week, the United States Supreme Court ruled that neither Colorado nor any other state was allowed to take the name of the former president off their primary ballots. And that ruling, like I said, was expected. But the five male justices, Roberts, Alito, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and Thomas, added a cryptic ending that feels ominous. It said, quote, "We conclude that states may disqualify persons holding or attempting to hold state office, but states have no power under the Constitution to enforce Section 3 concerning federal offices, especially the presidency." That was significant in that this whole claim to immunity is going to come before them because they're going to hear that case. So the sentence was significant because it suggests in the matter of determining if the former president should get absolute immunity from the crimes he committed during his presidency should ultimately be decided by Congress, which includes the Republican-led House of Representatives. In other words, it would never pass. The fact that SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, moved so quickly on this matter, while it is participating in the strategy of delaying the trial for the case that would decide absolute immunity, was a trigger for some who are already feeling frustration and anger at the actions and non-actions of America's institutions. It seems as though there has been a collective sagging of the shoulders of this country. But this development is not out of character for SCOTUS. People fighting for justice have had to endure several SCOTUS decisions that have worked against the whole concept of liberty and justice for all. The SCOTUS has not been a friend of the people or of all the people, nor has it been a torchlight for justice and fairness for the least of these. Even when past bad decisions have been rendered, throwing water on fires of hope, though, people have gotten up. People have gotten up. They have acknowledged their anger, massaged their tired muscles of hope and faith, taken a deep breath, and continued to move forward. And that's where we are now. In the Book of Joy, where the Dalai Lama and the Archbishop of Desmond Tutu share remarkable stories, meditations, and prayers about how to deal with, quote, the vicissitudes of circumstance, they offer in the introduction of the book their observation that, quote, "No dark fate determines the future. We do." Isn't that powerful? End quote. No dark fate determines the future. We do. And historically, we have. We have swallowed frustration and anger and, frankly, rage as decisions have been made and policies created that have made our lives difficult. We have had to swallow at the brazenness of injustice rendered by a system that seemingly has no time or desire to worry about the cries of the people. Governments do not care about people. Politicians rally to get our votes, only to settle into lives of deeper privilege, increasing their wealth, and an arrogance which in effect feels like a smirk as they turn away from us who voted them into office. Remember that when authoritarian governments come, it's because the people have voted them in. One of the reasons it is important to hold on to hope is because when we let go of hope and breathe in vapors of hopelessness, justice knows it has little to worry about. Injustice knows it has very little to worry about. It knows that the foot soldiers will not be leaving the battlefield. But our ancestors, in spite of what they went through, covered their noses and refused to breathe in those vapors. They made themselves continue to fight doggedly, refusing to give the powers and principalities their strength, their joy, their faith, and their resolve. It's like they said, no, we've come too far. We've worked too hard. We've suffered too much. We have made these gains, and though you are trying to push us back, we will resist you. And because they fought through their frustration, we are here. And we enjoyed 50 years of more parity in this country than we've had in a long time. So now is the moment to meditate on that sentence offered by the Archbishop and the Dalai Lama. Quote, "No dark fate determines the future. We do." End quote. We do. We have the power, and we are obligated to use that power to save the lives that we have, the rights that we have, and the rights that we are yet to have or get back. Give yourselves a minute to endure the pain that comes with birthing new hope that is consistently moving through our spiritual wounds. Hope begs to be born. Hope begs to be fed. Hope begs to bring light into a world that has been darkened by forces that believe that they are greater than God, or worse, believe that they are doing the will of God. Hope does that, and hope lets them know that they are not greater. Allows us to let them know that they are not greater than God. They are not. Think on this. Think on this and feed your hope, not your depression, not your anger, not your rage. Feed your hope as our ancestors did. Amen and amen. So that is the meditation for today and the rant that I just get the opportunity on Thursday mornings to speak out a little bit. But please take these words to heart. If you're not planning to vote in the Ohio primary on the 19th, please change your mind. Go and vote. Every single vote counts. Everything happens. And also remember that though the presidential race is front and center, the people who we vote into office on the local level matter. Who gets to be Secretary of State? Who gets to be all of the attorney general? All of those offices matter. And if we just just concentrate on the president of the United States, if we let the wrong people, or I'm not going to say wrong, but the people who don't represent our interests into office, then they give the president the power that the president wants in order to keep us all subjugated. Do you hear what I'm saying? That if we get a person in, an attorney general in, that doesn't believe in protecting our rights, our basic Bill of Rights, our basic freedoms, we're done. We're done. Please understand that the local elections are more critical than the presidential election. We need to get people in to the Congress on the state level and the federal level who will protect us, who will go and advocate for us, and who will do it in spite of being pushed back. If we don't do that, we become an authoritarian state where all of us are under the thumb of a person and his friends who do not care about our rights as individuals and communities. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you for being here. I hope to see you next week, and I hope that you will go to our YouTube page, Crazy Faith Ministries, and subscribe on our YouTube page so we can get that going a little bit better. And I hope that I'll see you next week. And I just want to give you a great big thank you for tuning in today. You guys have a good week. Take good care. Bye-bye.